Yeah,
I'd rather.
he knew enough to know that there was probably a special dental cement.
He took matters into his own hands. How are you today, Faraj?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Cool logo back there.
Thank you.
That was Mark's cousin helped us make that. We actually documented the fabrication process of it. It was really cool.
Yeah. She's super talented. Lucky to spend some time with her to do that. So,
hey everybody, Tyler McClendon, and of course
Mark Wagner
with us today. Dentist on Demand podcast coming at you today. We're very lucky to have with us Dr. Faraj Edher. How are you, Faraj?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. It's a little brisk these days here at Dentist on Demand Central.
Yeah, us sissy Vancouverites -5. What's that all about?
Yeah,
I can see you guys are bundled up there.
Yeah.
We try to keep it very rustic here at Dentist on Demand.
In the cabin. Yeah.
We like to not bring any heat here into the cabin. So.
Keeps us on our feet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Faraj, we've known each other for a number of years now, working together. And it's been fun to get to know you. I know that we have conversations about digital dentistry and all the changes that are happening out there in the industry. I'm going to dive right in. We did a little background on you. We read your bio earlier. So I'm just going to jump right in and say, what got you into dentistry? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what really sort of sparked you in the dentistry world?
Sure. So, well, first, thanks for having me, guys. I've been following along your podcast, and you've had some awesome people on here, and you guys are doing a great job just connecting it all together. So it's a pleasure.
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So a little about me. I'm a prosthodontist here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I got into dentistry actually not knowing that I was getting into dentistry. So straight out of high school, I studied dental school at the University of Sharjah, which follows an Australian dental curriculum. So it's 6 years right out of high school. The first year is a foundation year. And that foundation year covers the health sciences and things like that. So my plan was to do the foundation year and then go into medicine. And then my uncle, who's a medical doctor, sat me down and was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he kind of talked me into going into dentistry instead. So for me, I've always been passionate about making a difference for people. Whether it was through medicine or dentistry, didn't really make much of a difference for me at the time, being straight out of high school. So I just naturally ended up getting into dentistry. And then as I was going through dental school, I realized what I really love is having a diverse set of skills and doing different things every day. And also utilizing, I have self-diagnosed minor OCD, so I pay attention to the smallest details.
Funny, I know someone who has that as well.
I think you, as a dentist, that's an asset, though, I would say.
Yeah, Mark makes fun of me for being that way, so I can sympathize with your plight.
Yeah, so pros just made sense at that stage, and the gratification of being able to transform people's smiles and get to see the final outcome. Even though I get to work with a bunch of very talented people, whether it be their general dentists, surgeons, but I'm the one who's usually there for the final part where they get to see their new smile. That to me is a great part of what I do.
That's cool. And I mean, for me, I kind of liken it to being a quarterback, right? I mean, you're really kind of calling the shots. You're sort of you're masterminding the whole plan or the treatment plan for the patient, making sure that, and I like that about what you guys do. And we'll get into this a little bit about prosthodontics, but like you say, like the OCD component or just wanting to have, different things happening all at different times. I mean, you guys, is there anything a prosthodontist can't do? I mean, you guys are kind of,
we don't do root canals.
What's that?
Root canals, yeah.
Root canals we stay away from.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But so I consider, a prosthodontist is usually the strategist, right? We come up with a strategy. We take a look at all the different factors, all the different variables and components, whether they're, specific to the patient, whether they're specific to the outcome that we're looking to achieve. And then we come up with a strategy, how we're going to get from where we are today to where we ultimately want to be. And like I said, a lot of times we have to work with very talented people for different steps of the different parts of what we're doing. But that's the main aspect of prosthodontics. It's the treatment planning. It's the diagnosis and treatment planning. And then the word prosthodontics, for anyone who's not familiar with it, comes from prosthetics, right? So prosthetics and then odontia, which means teeth. So it's using any sort of prosthetic in the mouth, whether it be veneers or implants or crowns or bridges, dentures, all of those things. And it's planning for a patient that wants to either preserve their teeth or restore missing teeth and come up with a customized plan that gets them to where they need to be.
So what a wonderful time to be a prosthodontist with all of this technology available. It must be just, you must be salivating over all of this stuff, like the tools at your disposal to do all your work.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing and game changing. Like it's truly transformed how we do things.
Yeah.
And on all different aspects. That's the beauty of it. So you're 100% right. When we talk about like the strategy and diagnosis and treatment planning, the tools that we now have available to us to actually do that in a way that the patient understands very early on, to me has been probably I always say it's the predictability and communication of digital technology. Those are the two key words for how it's revolutionized how we do dentistry. And we have some amazing tools to be able to do that very early on in the stage, and then all the way up to how we make our restorations, whether it's 3D printing or milling, just a lot of variety with the technology we can utilize.
So can you walk us through that process just a little bit? I mean, you guys do a lot. So, I mean, I don't expect you to go too in depth on this, but like if someone comes to you and they say, okay, I'm missing some teeth here, or I want, I want an aesthetic rehabilitation. Obviously a patient would know what that means, but I guess that would be, just reading your bio, those words came up a few times. So when a patient comes to you and you start to employ a digital workflow, like what does that look like for a patient in contrast to a typical trip to the dentist maybe 20 years ago?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting the question, because let's compare it to how it would have been done 20 years ago, or if it's being done today without the use of technology. You come in, or someone comes in and says, I'm unhappy with my smile. I have problems with my smile. I have a missing tooth, or I just don't like the fact that they're crooked or that they're yellow, whatever it is. And at that point, what we're doing as dentists doesn't change whether we're utilizing technology or not. We've spent years of education to be able to take a look at all the different variables, diagnose the problem, come up with different options, and then present a plan. The difference being, if I'm doing that without the use of technology, I can go ahead and give you a long paragraph on what I think needs to be done and why. And I can promise you that it's going to look beautiful, but it pretty much stops at that. And, you can compare it to if you're looking to purchase a new house, right? You can talk to someone and they can describe the exterior, they can tell you about the rooms, they can tell you what it looks like. But unless you actually see it, are you truly going to be confident investing into a major change in your life? And it's the same for some of these larger procedures that we do, right? So the number one thing in that digital workflow, on my end at least, is being able to utilize, digital impressions and things that are called virtual smile designs, where we can take that plan that we've conceptualized and then actually put it up on a screen where the patient can see it and they get to see their new proposed smile. We can talk about the different things involved, and that's a big difference than just describing it.
What kind of emotional response are you getting when you see that? Like when the patient sees what their smile could look like, that must be a really special moment for you.
Absolutely. And it's once they get over the fact that they're blown away that this is possible, and they actually start to look at their face with the new smile, especially if it's a drastic change, which is a lot of what we do. It's we talk about motivating patients and having them truly understand what the benefit of what we're going to do is. There's no better way to motivate someone than for them to actually see what they're going to look like after having a reconstruction or a smile makeover.
And then, I mean, for you described yourself as somebody that loves to make an impact on people's lives. Like that for you must be your bread and butter, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I mean, just the fact that I feel like I'm truly connecting and communicating well, to me is gratifying. What I get excited about is the actual results. So that's kind of the other, it's a double-edged sword sometime, right? Because I can show you a beautiful smile on a screen. If I'm not able to deliver on that, then you're going to be very disappointed. So it's being able to account for all of it. But I mean, what I show patients are, I show them previous cases where I show them what that initial design looked like, and then I show them what the final outcome looked like. And what's really fascinating is how similar those two are when we follow proper planning and a proper workflow. We can get things to look very, very similar to what we initially planned if we're doing it right.
Well, because you're capturing data with a scanner, right? So not to get too technical, but you're scanning the dentition, you're scanning the skull with a CBCT, and you're putting those two files together. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the clinician. And then you're actually able to reconstruct a 3D version of their face and their head. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And then I'll add to that by saying not only do we take their anatomy through the CBCT and then the scan of their teeth through an intraoral or digital impression, we're then also able to scan their face, right? Or if we want to be simple, we can take a photo of their face and then we can merge that. And that's where the power really comes in, especially for these transformations, is where you're actually able to see the proposed plan on your own face. You're not just seeing it as a huge model of teeth and possibly a skull. You're seeing it with your lips, with your cheeks, with your facial features, with your smile. And that's pretty amazing. But then we're able to take all of that, and then there's a lot that goes behind the scenes in terms of what we're able to do in a lab to actually make restorations and plan for treatment.
Well, there's a lot of other things that come into play too, like airway and all the things that you don't see outside, right? So the smile, it has to be a functional smile as well.
Functional, and then I mean, even the shape of people's faces. I mean, and I know this from my days of selling denture teeth. Certain shapes of faces go with certain shapes of teeth. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can even have that conversation with the patient to say, here's a 3D rendering of your face. Here's some square teeth. Here's some a little more rounded teeth. These teeth are a little more, I guess they're called X shape or whatever. There's different codes that go with the teeth, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can then have that conversation with your patient to say, there's 5 or 6 different shapes of teeth out here. So we want to make sure that the shape of the tooth, the contour of the tooth is going to complement your face.
Mm-hmm.
And the power to say that to someone and say, now let's actually look at what the shape of those teeth look like when we actually when we put it into the face that we scanned.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is it's done in seconds. Like it's literally done with a click of a button or a click of a mouse, where you're going through different designs and going through all those different molds for the actual shapes and things like that. It's done on the spot right there with the patient, a lot of times during the very first consultation. So it gives them a very good idea of what we're capable of doing. It also, in some cases, gives them a good idea of what we're incapable of doing, right? There's certain things that sometimes we can't do just because of the present situation. But at the end of the day, the important thing is accurate communication. So we're able to give them accurate communication and go through all of that very early on in the process.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
So you've really kind of covered all your bases in terms of education. We know your story. When we come to the practice, we know that we know what you're capable of showing us. We know that it's going to be predictable. Like now that we have all this information, where do you see digital dentistry going in the next 10 years?
That's a good question. So there's a few things that I think will be a lot more common in digital technology over the next few years. One is the use of augmented reality. And augmented reality is something we've been using day to day for a long time, especially if you're on social media, right? Adding the sunglasses to your face and adding different things to filters and things like that. So we're already starting to see applications where we're able to do that in dentistry, where we're able to add smiles. So that's something that I'm excited about. And then artificial intelligence is also something that's exciting, being able to take a scan and then have a machine learning unit or something that's utilizing huge amounts of data to give us information, tell us that, based on all the factors that are involved, this is where there might be a highest risk of a cavity, or this is where this tooth is probably going to need X treatment. We're headed towards that. And I think that's exciting as well. And then 3D printing is a third thing that I talk about. So being able to 3D print restorations for patients is the future of how we make things. That's for certain. It's just a question of how fast do we get there, and the properties of the materials that we're able to actually print.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with materials. As you know, I I dabble in the materials and supplies side, and I think that and I, you know, I'm the same as you. I think Mark and I both are in terms of technology. We get pretty excited about this stuff, and we talk about scanners and mills and printers and all the rest of it. And I think that the printing component for me, I mean, the AI and the augmented reality, I mean, that stuff that's beyond my scope of understanding. But the printing stuff is where I'm sort of caught up to, and what the printers can do nowadays is unbelievable. And it's really just a matter of, has Health Canada approved the material to do it? The printer can do it, but do we have the material that we can put in the mouth, right?
Yeah. I'm curious to know, with that, like, what do you think is the most exciting thing to come? Like, from your perspective, what's something you see and you're like, wow, in 5 years, that's going to be big?
For me, when a 3D printer could fully print a usable resin crown, I think that will change. That will drive down the cost of a crown. It will change the game big time. Yeah. So,
and I think we're pretty close to that now.
Well, it's already happening.
Excuse me.
So yeah, for me, 3D printing in practice it will change dentistry, like the industry as we know it.
That's funny. I got an email just yesterday, a marketing email from one of the 3D printing companies. The title of the email was $2 crown.
Yeah, right.
And $2 crown.
$2 crown. And I mean, that's probably just a marketing title, but they're suggesting that they have the material to 3D print a definitive final crown. And that's in the US and it's available. So yeah, that's exciting. I think we're going to get there very soon.
Yeah. And you know, like with this technology stuff, like, 10 years, it's not that far away. It's like maybe 2 or 3, right?
And really this kind of falls in play with what we're doing at Dentist on Demand. I mean, really, like we spent a long time, I mean, especially like obviously during COVID, like really started going back to the nucleus of what we're trying to do with Dentist on Demand. And we've finally starting to come to a point where we're like, we came up with a slogan, seeing a dentist made easier. So really what we're doing, and we're sort of falling in line with this conversation, is we're streamlining the process of seeing a dentist. We literally have tools within our ecosystem to make it so that you can do all your forms online. You can do your patient intake online, COVID release form, so that you can just walk into the practice, have treatment done, and walk out again. And I think this goes back to your question, what I see changing in dentistry, and I think COVID is obviously having an impact on this, is that the biggest change I'm seeing right now and the biggest disruption is the streamline ability of dentistry. The ability for people to walk in, have a trio scan done, have a CT scan done, see a 3D rendering of their face and going, yeah, I like those teeth. I like how my face looks with that.
Or even like having options up on the screen. Do you like this one with your augmented reality, right? You can now choose. The luxury of choice.
So the patient already knows before they come to the practice what they're like. They're already halfway to making the decision on what they want. All they need, by the time they get to your practice, it's really just confirming, yes, we can do this. We've run your scans. We've looked at everything. We've 3D rendered your face.
We've looked at the CBCT. We know your anatomy underneath.
And then they walk out with a treatment plan. So I think the streamlining of dentistry is where I see things going right now.
That's really interesting. You're pretty much saying that, we're doing a lot of things, but that process starts with the patient in the chair. What if we're able to do it a long time before they even get to the chair? That's really cool. Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys have helped me quite a bit with getting the virtual consultation platform up and running. And that's been great. It's not for everyone, but there's a lot of people that truly appreciate, like I have a patient coming in to see me from Edmonton in a couple weeks, and utilizing the platforms that Dentist on Demand puts together, we're able to pretty much do everything we would have done during 2 appointments before she even gets in for her first appointment.
That's fantastic.
So we've taken care of the consultation. We've taken care of a lot of the records, and we'll be able to start treatment when she gets in. So
that's so cool to hear. Yeah.
That makes us really happy to hear. And that was actually one of my next questions for you, is that How are you finding the virtual consultation? How are you finding dentistry? I think someone like you, I mean, I think it would be like a duck swimming in water, I would assume.
Yeah, I found it to be great. I mean, the thing with technology, and this is what I've realized applies the exact same for virtual consults, is you'll always have people who say, but what about and it's the same for digital impressions. So I talk about digital impressions and then someone will always say, okay, but what about the margins that are 4 millimeters under the gums? Well, for those, you take a regular impression and that's fine. And the same applies for the virtual consults. So they're great for a lot of people. The people that do want to come in for face-to-face consults, we do the same. But for a lot of people out there, it's made the process so much easier. And for us, it's made it so much more efficient in the sense that we're able to do things at different times and really utilize our chair time to its most effective capacity, right? And that's the streamlining of dentistry you're talking about.
So remember you talked about predictable results and how excited you get when you see something working? That's us right now hearing you say that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's like all this work we're putting into this thing is like, that's music to our ears.
The goal is to what everything you just said, that's our goal, is to make it so that, you know what, chair time is valuable. So the every minute the patient is in the chair is that you're maximizing that time so that, when I walk into a practice and I see a patient sitting in a dental chair filling out a form, it makes my skin crawl. So I'm like, that is just a waste of get them out of the chair. That should be done offline or online, somewhere else. And then when they're in the chair, that's treatment time. That's when you're actually getting the work done. That's just my opinion. But I think there's
absolutely. And I mean, I think you guys were ahead of your time, but you're like right now with just everything that's going on, things spill into dentistry. People are used to doing a lot of the things that they used to do in person online, whether it's how they order things at restaurants or whatever it is, so it's going to be very normal to expect these things for any type of service that anyone's getting. And why would it be any different at a dental office? So it's really cool.
That's our argument. So
yeah. And it's nice to see. And the biggest thing too is that, like you mentioned, that patient was in Edmonton. So the fact that, and we've heard this before. We have another client of ours who said that they had a patient from Prince George, and they hopped on a virtual consultation with them, and they flew down to Vancouver for the weekend, and they had a bunch of veneers done. So, I think that the ability to hop on a call with someone and be able to actually show them, whether it's showing them a model or showing them a 3D version of their face, whatever tool you're employing, and that's totally up to you. Obviously, that's not where we dabble. Is that we gave you the tool to be able to show them, here's what's capable with your treatment. So that's exciting.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So we already asked where dentistry is moving. Is there now a quick question? Like we talk about prosthodontics, I wanted to say, so cosmetic dentistry is that more sort of your focus these days, or what? I did happen to notice that on your website. Is it?
Yeah. So I would say my focus is on cosmetic and reconstructive dentistry. Okay. And the two come together all the time, right? We never want to do cosmetic or aesthetic treatment without taking into account what you mentioned, which is the function, right? And we never want to do reconstructive dentistry without taking into account the aesthetics. So they kind of come in hand all the time. And what I focus on is some of the more, aesthetically demanding cases, or some of the more complex reconstructive cases. And that's typically what my focus has been. And that's where I get a lot of referring dentists sending me patients to see those sorts of things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The Digital Dentistry Institute. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Digital Dentistry Institute, it's an educational institute where we run a variety of continuing education programs for dentists. They focus on really two streams of dentistry: implant dentistry and digital dentistry, and how they come together. So we, in the previous world, we used to run a lot of classroom programs all across Canada and the US and all across the world. And we're still doing that now to a different capacity, just being more safe and at the same time ensuring that education never stops. But we've also taken a lot of that online. So we run a lot of online programs, but we've gotten a little creative where it's not just a webinar. It's where you get the online education from, experts. So We have people like Dr. Ron Zokol talking about grafting, people like Dr. Bobby Birdie talking about implant placement, and then we're able to give the didactic or the theoretical part online, but then we also send every participant a hands-on kit where they have everything they need, whether it be a motor or a handpiece or a drill or model, and they can follow along the step-by-step hands-on component to make sure that that's not missed, because that's an important part of dental education.
Okay,
Being
that's
able to
fantastic.
apply
Yeah,
it.
Fantastic.
because you're one of the first people I've heard, either on our podcast or in person, telling me that you actually are doing a hands-on component. So that's it's really refreshing to hear.
Yeah,
And I mean,
awesome. Yeah,
doing these things like regionally, like having people come out, is one thing, but I think 2020's gift, if 2020 gave us any gifts, was our collective creative thought and how we could still reach each other. And that's a cool story. Another one, another pearl in that story.
Well, yeah, how we can do what we were used to doing, or with DDI, in a new environment, and being able to give your students a kit to actually follow along with the whether it's a webinar or whether it's an online course, that's powerful.
And Mark, I agree like 100% on the fact about one of the, if we're trying to find the light in 2020, one of the things has been being able to connect, right? We've been able to connect in different ways, but in ways that we previously haven't connected. So a great example of that for me has been, one of the best things that's happened in 2020 on a professional end has been, I started a virtual study club called the BC Dental Virtual Study Club. And it was tailored to, during March and April, I don't know if you remember, but there were a lot of webinars on dentistry. Everyone was running a webinar. But what I felt was missing was what you're talking about, which is like local connection, being able to go to a study club or a local conference and seeing, your colleagues there and seeing everyone else there. So that study club has, we have 500 members, all of which are within the dental community in British Columbia. And we meet once a month, and it's just given us different avenues of being able to support each other and connect together. So that's definitely been a blessing for sure.
500 clinicians. That's quite a significant chunk of the total clinicians in BC.
Yeah, I'd say we probably have like 400 are dentists, and then 100 are, staff, dental lab technicians, denturists. We have reps from dental companies. It's just bringing together the entire dental community and being able to share things together. So it's been outstanding. Yeah, that's
outstanding. That's great. So, like, how does one find? Is there a curriculum online? Is there a website to go to get more information?
No, it's very organic. You have to. It's like a Clubhouse. You have to get an invite.
What's the password? What's the secret?
You can find it on. It's on my social media. So Dr. Faraj Edher on Instagram or Facebook, and then you just fill in a form, and then you go into the email list. We have set dates that are sent every month. And the cool thing is, I never set the topics. So each session. So we had a January session on, digital dentistry, and then the 100-something people that were in attendance that session, they choose through a poll what they want the next session to be about.
Oh, what a great idea.
And based on that, I coordinate either giving it or I bring in a guest speaker, and it's been great.
That's really smart.
Dentist on demand.
You should have a course on doing virtual consults.
Hey, yeah. We'll put it to the poll, right?
That's right. It's kind of like a pick your own. What is it? You pick your own path.
The books where you like pick page.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Netflix shows that tried doing that?
I remember hearing about it.
I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I think a Netflix show called Black Mirror.
Where
they you watch it, and then at certain points you choose different scenarios happening, and it was interesting. So
there's logic fields for every chapter.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where you're going. Yeah.
But no, like a logic field or like a pull down. So it's like, okay, Sally, does Sally run from the cabin in the woods, or does she go? You pick your own destiny.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's like playing a video game almost. You control more.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Love what you're doing, Faraj. I mean, I think that a real pioneer, a real innovator. Digital is the future, and man, you were just leading the charge in this. So whatever we can do to support you and keep going and waving the flag for you, we're right behind you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And I appreciate everything you've been doing as well to support me and support our profession. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want us to? Oh, we had a speed round. Should we give?
Yeah, we got to get into the speed round.
We want to keep. Do you mind if we do a quick speed round with you?
Go for it.
Favorite hobby?
Water sports.
You do the next one.
Is it like a one-word speed round, or do I?
Oh yeah, no, whatever you want.
No, whatever you want to say. You like water sports? What's your favorite water sport?
Yeah, water sports. All sorts of water sports.
All sorts. Okay.
Jet skiing for 2020 was my favorite, and yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. I love this one. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I guess if it's got bread on either side of it, doesn't that make it a sandwich?
All right.
Cool.
That's
I'm not even gonna say what my answer was anymore because I get harassed every time I say my answer.
Now I need to know.
Well, I say this question actually came from FormStack, one of our partners. They do online digital forms, and they asked me this question, and I said no because a sandwich has a crust. But apparently, a hot dog is a crust. So what do I know? I guess that's why it's an interesting question. I'm next. Favorite technology?
doesn't have to be
or life.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Non-dentistry related.
Let's go non-dentistry.
Yeah.
I think for me it'd be streaming in general, like streaming, whether it's Netflix or YouTube, just being able to stream video. That's my favorite type of technology.
Awesome.
What's your favorite word?
I don't have a favorite word, but
We've stumped him.
Yeah.
This is good.
That's fine. Next.
Your least favorite word?
the word favorite's probably my least favorite word because I don't do favorites. I don't have favorite things. I just like a lot of different things.
That's my fave.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Whenever I'm
good.
in trouble with Katrina, my wife, I'm always like, well, you are my favorite. She doesn't like when I say that at all. That just gets me in much more trouble.
Oh, so there's a joy.
I'm totally kidding, honey. If you weren't a dentist, what profession would you have chosen?
I
should say
strategic planning of some sort. I enjoy that aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's our speed round. Thank you so much for being a sport. It's been wonderful having you on. How can we, like, if anyone wants to reach out to you, like, you got some handles you want to throw out there? Is there anything we can do to get your information out?
Yeah, so Dr. Faraj Edher, Faraj Edher. I'm on all social media, and then my first name dot last name, so faraj.edher@gmail.com. And yeah, those are the best ways.
All right, sir. It's been great having you. I know you're super swamped with, we got the PDC coming up. So I believe you're doing a presentation for that, or I'm going to cancel this.
I just finished that. Yeah, I finished that right before this. So
the Pacific Dental Conference is happening and you're doing a presentation. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's virtual though. So they're recorded sessions and then there'll be a live Q&A.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, awesome. We'll let you get on with your day. And it was great talking to you. We'll see you in office next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.